Welcome in, all my friends. Lazy Retired Granny here. It is still Wednesday, June 28th, 2023. The time is 1:30 p.m. here in sunny and blue sky, Salem, Oregon. I am continuing my journey on the Golden Valley by Chuck Pinson. And I just want to jump in here because I was watching DP Crazy Lady in her latest video that she posted, and she was talking about growing up watching TV. And man, oh man, that really sparked some interest in me. And I remember vaguely when I was probably about 3-ish, 4-ish, and staying up late on a Friday night, and the scary movies were on, and my older cousin would come over and we would watch scary movies together. And yeah, black and white, little tiny TV. But that's as far as when I was small in the 50s. I do not really remember watching too much TV. I remember my dad watching TV. And when Dad got home from work, yeah, you watch what Dad watched. And my dad was a big Western watcher. So if it was shoot 'em up, cowboys and stuff, he watched it. And so yeah, Rawhide, Bonanza, you name it, all those shows that we can remember. And yeah, it was a little TV, black and white, on a little stand, like a wrought iron stand, I think is what they had it on. And then I think it was probably like 1964 when The Wonderful World of Disney, it was on Sunday nights, and it was going to be in color. And one of our neighbors had a color TV. And so we lived on a little cul-de-sac. And I remember at 7 o'clock, we all rushed to the neighbor's house. There were 6 houses there. Gathered around their TV to see this come on in color. And we didn't watch very much of it. It was just to watch, kind of the introduction and what it looked like. But I will always remember that. And color TVs were quite expensive then. So when we moved, and I believe, let's see, that would have been about in mid-60s. We still had a little tiny TV, black and white. And then it seems to me that we got a little tiny color TV. And then we got my parents got a bigger color TV, and the little TV went out in our family room. And back in, I believe, let's see, Disney came in color in 64. And the one show that I can remember, 1968, Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. I loved that show. Didn't understand it at all. It's just that there was so much action going on. It was more of a, like watching a kid's show, only it was an adult show. But then when we got our color TV, wow, you know, it was just spectacular. However, I could only watch color TV for a short amount of time. It really bothered my eyes. Because, you know, we were just used to black and white. And for me, the transition to a color was very difficult. And but yeah, I just remember that. The first time I watched that in color, you know, it was wow, it just popped on the screen. But even though the color TV programs came out, I would say really in mid-60s, not all shows were in color. You had a select few that were in color and the rest were all black and white. And but yeah, and when I left home at 18, I bought a black and white TV. I said, I will never have a color TV. It just bothers my eyes too much. I'd rather see, you know, something in black and white so I wouldn't get headaches. But yeah, but yeah, but I remember in grade school, one of the first shows that, you know, the kids at school were always talking about, I think it was like on a Wednesday night, and so Thursdays, all the kids were talking about it, the Patty Duke Show. And my dad, of course, would not allow that on the TV. We only had one TV, and he was in control of the TV. So I did not get to watch it. And I remember, for whatever reason, I don't know, my dad wasn't home one night. I think that's when he switched jobs and he was working nights or something. I don't know. I got to watch the Patty Duke Show. And I got to talk about it the next day at school. Oh my gosh, this was in grade school. How funny. And my dad worked on Saturdays, so of course we got to get up and watch cartoons. And when I believe I was in high school when Sesame Street and, you know, there was a couple other shows that came on. Oh, do you remember watching Romper Room? Oh, I love Romper Room. But my younger siblings were quite a bit younger than me. I was 12 years older than one and 8 years older than the other one. So, yeah, they were at the age to watch those educational TVs programs. But I remember, oh my gosh, does anybody remember the series that came on at 10 o'clock at night so none of the kids could watch it? And it was all hush, hush. Don't let the kids watch it. We only talk about this show in private. Peyton Place. Oh my gosh, my parents were addicted to that. And I remember them talking in secret about it. Scandalous, I tell you, scandalous. And then my dad had been in the Navy, so he loved McHale's Navy. And, you know, some of those, if it wasn't cowboys, it had to do with the service. You know, like maybe, I can't remember all of them, but like Gomer Pyle. Oh, there was another one, but I can't remember the name of it. And then the other, not quite as scandalous as Peyton Place, but Perry Mason. Oh, they had to watch Perry Mason. Now, I love Perry Mason to this day. I just think I like to watch it just to see all these people that were guest stars that went on to become, you know, famous or semi-famous. And when I was working in Salem, I worked in a little satellite office, and at the time, my boss, who didn't act like a boss, we were in an office complex, and there was a pizza parlor right near where our office was at, and they had a lunch special, and so we would walk over there and get their special, and then they had a big screen TV, or big screen at that time, wouldn't be big screen today, and we'd watch Perry Mason and eat our lunch. And we'd make sure that we left the office a few minutes early, hurry up and got our food, and then sat down and got ready for Perry Mason. And we would watch it just to see if we recognized anybody in there. But I don't really, in early years, 50s and 60s, other than on Saturdays, of course, American Bandstand. You had to watch American Bandstand. And that was probably when I was in like junior high. And we were just getting, you know, at that age, just getting into the music stuff and dances, you know, sock hops at lunchtime and that kind of thing, and different groups. But that was back in the day when, yeah, we only had an AM radio station. I don't even know if they had FM back then. We didn't in my area. And we had a little local radio station here, But the big station that was so popular, of course, was up in Portland, and you couldn't always, tune into it. 'Cause it was a little bit harder back in the 60s. And yeah. But our local radio station, you could call up and request songs or dedications. And yeah, that's back when disc jockeys were, the cat's meow. You always wanted to call up and talk to the disc jockey because they actually answered the phone back then. I don't listen to the radio that much, so I don't know if they still do stuff like that or not. Yeah, the local radio station that I listened to growing up, that my dad listened to when it first came on the radio, or, especially car radios. If you had a car radio, wow. That was pretty cool. And I was gonna say, oh yeah, they're still going today, and they're playing music, from the 50s and the 60s. Sometimes, they branch it up to the 70s and 80s, because now those people think that's their oldies station from the 80s and 90s, which does not seem possible. I know that it is, but to me, the oldies are 40s and 50s and 60s. And the 70s music, kind of started changing. So to me, that's new rock and roll. I have quite a few, well, now because I switched over, but CDs of, I love 40s music. And I forgot what I was doing, 39S. So I have a lot of music from then, and I also have a record player. So I do have a bunch of records from music from the 30s and 40s. And I love to listen to it while I'm doing my housework. I don't know, there's just something about doing housework and listening to those old tunes. Just puts me in the mood to do housework. The big band and swing, all the war tunes. I got quite a few of those albums, and I remember back, I believe it was 72, my friend and I, we were going to go to the big city of Portland for something. I don't know what we were doing, but we were driving, and we had she had a little mini convertible. We had the top down. It was summertime. We had the music blaring, the radio was on, and this song came on, and it was Boogie Woogie Bugle Boys. That's the first time I had heard that. Bette Midler was singing it. I had never heard of Bette Midler. She was just starting out. And I can remember as if it happened yesterday. And I said, oh my gosh, who is that singer? Because I have to have that song. There was just something about her that I really, really liked. And to this day, I still really like listening to her music. I have quite a few of her albums. And I love the movies she's been in. And I remember, I think I was like in the first grade, second grade, and in our area, right before Easter, they would put the movie on, The Wizard of Oz. It was always on once a year at the same time. And the first time I watched that, we were over at somebody's house, and they had kids, and they were all going to watch it. And so I sat down and watched it with them. And I mean, I was just blown away by this movie. I don't think I'd ever seen a movie before. And yeah, so that movie just really sticks in my mind. The first movie that really scared me to death, and I was probably first or second grade. It was on really late at night. The Day the Earth Stood Still. Now, I watched that today, and it's like, what in the world? Why was I so scared? Of course, days were different back then. And, yeah. But, yeah, that was scary to me. And the first drive-in movie that I went to was with my dad and stepmom and the neighbors. And we went to see Bye Bye Birdie. Now, to this day, I cannot figure out. Why did my dad go see that movie? That just wasn't him, but he went. We all went in the same car, squished together. And yeah, we went to see Bye Bye Birdie and Margaret. And, I can't remember the other guy's name. I think I fell asleep. I was really, small. And then the first theater that I went to, I went with my twin cousins, and my stepmom was horrified because it was Sunday and you shouldn't go to see a movie on Sunday. But her brother, who had the twins, he said, it doesn't matter. They can go see a movie. Drop her off with the girls and let her go. And I was probably third grade or so, fourth grade. We went to see The Moon Spinners with Haley Mills, Walt Disney. And going into our movie theater, which was an old building and very gothic, yeah, that was quite the experience for me. And do you remember when the Beatles were on the Ed Sullivan Show? That was the talk of the town. Oh my gosh. The build up to that show and the talk about it afterwards. Oh my gosh. And then we always had to watch Lawrence Welk. Oh, finger down my throat. You know, I'd go in the other room. I think that's why I was such a reader growing up, because I just didn't like the shows my dad watched, so I just immersed myself in books. I've always been a big reader. Growing up, I think I read every single Little House on the Prairie and all the Beverly Cleary books. Oh, I loved her books. And oh, who was some of the other ones? Yeah, and the school library was open during the summer, and I was always riding my bike up there, getting books. And then we had the bookmobile. So then I was getting books from the bookmobile, because we lived quite a long ways from the library, city library. I love the bookmobile. It just amazed me that there was this bus with books on it. And then when I went into the 7th grade, I got to ride the bus into town, and sometimes meet my friends. Not very often, but I did get to do that. But then when we moved, when I was in 9th grade, I didn't do that anymore. I don't know what the deal was with that, but I didn't get out much when I was growing up, really. Okay. Well, I talked your ear off for a while. I got a little bit more diamond painting done. I think I'm going to go watch some more of 1883. It's at a real exciting part right now. Well, it's all exciting to me. Man, I just love that show. It's just action, action, action. There hasn't been a dull moment yet. So I am gonna go. Ellie's waiting for me. She's on the couch. I'll go cuddle with her, do some knitting, and watch 1883. Okay, thanks for stopping by. Talk to you later.